For years, the relationship between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the royal family has remained one of the most closely watched stories in the world. Every public appearance, every interview, every reported conversation, and every palace statement has been examined for clues about whether reconciliation is still possible or whether the distance between the two sides has simply become too great to bridge. Now, a fresh wave of speculation has reignited that debate. According to several royal commentators and media reports, Meghan is believed to have hoped that tensions between the Sussexes and the royal family might gradually ease over time. While there has been no official confirmation that any formal request was made to Buckingham Palace, renewed discussion surrounding future family events has led many observers to ask whether meaningful reconciliation is still realistically possible. That question has become increasingly significant because recent years have fundamentally reshaped the relationship between the Sussexes and the monarchy. Following Prince Harry and Meghan's decision to step back as senior working royals in 2020, the couple established a new life in California while continuing to speak publicly about their experiences within the institution. Their interviews, documentaries, and Prince Harry's memoir generated worldwide attention, but they also intensified public debates surrounding trust, privacy, and the future relationship between the Sussexes and the wider royal family. Many royal commentators believe those events created lasting consequences. According to several analysts, rebuilding trust after years of highly public disagreements is rarely straightforward, particularly within an institution where discretion has traditionally been regarded as one of its most important values. That is why recent speculation has attracted so much attention. Some commentators have suggested that informal communication between the two sides has occasionally continued despite public distance. Others believe any contact has remained extremely limited and carefully managed. None of those reports has been officially confirmed, leaving much of the discussion based on interpretation rather than verified fact. Even so, the speculation continues because it raises a larger question. If reconciliation were ever to happen, what would it actually look like? Would it begin with private conversations away from the public eye? Would it involve attendance at carefully selected family occasions before any broader public appearances? Or has the relationship deteriorated to the point where even symbolic gestures have become increasingly difficult? Royal commentators remain divided. Some believe King Charles has consistently shown a desire to preserve family relationships wherever possible. They point to previous public remarks emphasizing love for both of his sons despite well-documented differences. Others argue that the institution itself must place stability ahead of personal emotion. From that perspective, any decision involving future interactions would likely consider not only family relationships but also public confidence in the monarchy, ongoing constitutional responsibilities, and the well-being of senior working royals who continue representing the crown. Those broader considerations have naturally placed Prince William at the center of many discussions. Although no official account has described William influencing any specific decision regarding Meghan, royal analysts frequently suggest that the Prince of Wales will inevitably play an increasingly important role in shaping the monarchy's future direction. As heir to the throne, William's perspective on protecting the institution is often viewed as highly significant by commentators, even if the palace never publicly discusses private family matters. Meanwhile, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has continued focusing on her gradual return to public duties while maintaining a characteristically low profile regarding family disagreements. That silence itself has often become part of the story. Unlike many modern public figures, senior members of the royal family rarely respond directly to ongoing speculation. Instead, Buckingham Palace generally limits public comment to official announcements, allowing rumors and commentary to circulate without confirmation or denial. For supporters of the Sussexes, that silence is sometimes interpreted as emotional distance. For supporters of the monarchy, it reflects a long-standing tradition of avoiding public disputes. Those competing interpretations explain why every new report quickly attracts worldwide attention. At present, however, one fact remains unchanged. There has been no official palace announcement stating that Meghan has been permanently excluded from the royal family, nor has Buckingham Palace confirmed that any supposed final plea was formally rejected. Instead, what exists is a growing collection of reports, commentary, and public speculation attempting to understand whether meaningful reconciliation remains possible after years of highly public disagreement. And according to many royal observers, that uncertainty itself has become one of the most compelling stories surrounding the modern monarchy, because the answer could ultimately shape not only family relationships, but also public perceptions of how the royal family moves forward in the years ahead. As speculation continued to spread, attention gradually shifted away from dramatic headlines and toward a much more complicated question. If reconciliation were ever to happen, who would actually have the authority to make that decision? Royal commentators have offered very different answers. Some believe the issue rests primarily with King Charles III, arguing that as both monarch and father, he would naturally play the central role in any effort to rebuild family relationships. Others suggest that the situation has become far more complex, particularly because Prince William, as heir to the throne, will eventually inherit not only the crown but also the long-term consequences of today's decisions. That difference in perspective has fueled months of discussion. According to several royal commentators, any future reconciliation would likely involve far more than a simple family conversation. They argue that questions of public trust, constitutional responsibility, media attention, and institutional stability would all influence how the palace approaches such a sensitive issue. Importantly, none of these discussions have been confirmed by Buckingham Palace. The royal household has consistently avoided commenting on reports involving private family relationships, allowing speculation to develop largely through media analysis and royal commentary rather than official statements. Still, rumors have continued. Some reports have suggested that informal communication between representatives of both sides has occasionally taken place behind the scenes. Those reports remain unverified, but they have encouraged many observers to wonder whether the possibility of rebuilding trust has ever completely disappeared. Others remain far more skeptical. Several royal experts have argued that the challenges facing any reconciliation extend well beyond personal disagreements. Over recent years, public interviews, documentary projects, and Prince Harry's memoir have significantly altered how many members of the royal family reportedly view issues of privacy and confidentiality. Whether fairly or unfairly, trust has become one of the central themes in almost every discussion surrounding the Sussexes. That is why many commentators believe rebuilding relationships would likely require far more than symbolic gestures. It would require confidence that future private conversations could remain exactly that, private. Again, there has been no official confirmation that such concerns have been discussed within the palace. However, the topic frequently appears in royal analysis because discretion has traditionally been regarded as one of the monarchy's most important unwritten principles. Prince William's name also appears regularly throughout these discussions. Although William has never publicly commented in detail on speculation surrounding reconciliation, commentators often suggest that his perspective carries increasing importance as preparations continue for the monarchy's future. Many analysts believe William's primary concern would be protecting long-term institutional stability rather than revisiting past disagreements. Supporters of this view argue that every major decision now has implications extending well beyond the present moment. Future reigns are shaped not only by ceremonial events, but also by how difficult situations are managed before they become larger public controversies. Meanwhile, King Charles continues occupying an unusually difficult position. As monarch, he represents the institution. As a father, he remains connected to Prince Harry regardless of public events. Royal commentators frequently observe that balancing those two responsibilities may be one of the most challenging aspects of his reign. Some believe Charles naturally hopes for improved family relationships over time. Others argue that protecting the crown inevitably requires difficult decisions that cannot always satisfy every member of the family. Neither interpretation has been confirmed officially. Both remain matters of public analysis rather than documented fact. One aspect, however, is widely acknowledged. The relationship between the Sussexes and the royal family can no longer be viewed simply as a private family disagreement. Every reported conversation immediately becomes an international headline. Every public appearance is examined for hidden meaning. Even routine royal events often generate speculation about who attended, who did not, and what those decisions might reveal about relationships behind palace walls. That extraordinary level of scrutiny creates challenges unlike those faced by most families. Small gestures that might otherwise pass unnoticed become subjects of worldwide debate. Ordinary scheduling decisions are interpreted as possible signals. Silence itself is analyzed almost as closely as official statements. Perhaps that explains why rumors continue attracting so much attention despite the absence of confirmed information. People are not simply searching for answers about one reported conversation. They are trying to understand whether one of the world's most famous families can ever move beyond years of public disagreement. For now, there are no official indications that any dramatic breakthrough or permanent closure has taken place. Instead, what remains is continuing speculation, differing interpretations, and an ongoing debate about whether time alone might eventually accomplish what public discussion has not. According to many royal observers, that unanswered question may ultimately prove far more significant than any individual rumor currently circulating online. As the discussion continued, many royal observers began focusing on something that often receives less attention than headlines themselves: the issue of trust. According to constitutional experts and longtime royal commentators, trust has always been one of the foundations upon which the modern monarchy operates. While official duties are carried out in public, many of the relationships that allow the institution to function depend upon private conversations remaining exactly that, private. That reality has become central to almost every discussion surrounding the Sussexes. Following the publication of interviews, documentaries, and Prince Harry's memoir, commentators have frequently debated whether rebuilding confidence inside the family would now require considerably more time than repairing ordinary personal disagreements. Some believe enough time has passed for emotions to cool. Others argue that public trust, once damaged, is far more difficult to restore. Neither position has been confirmed by the palace. Instead, they remain part of an ongoing public debate that continues whenever questions of reconciliation emerge. Several royal commentators have also suggested that King Charles now faces two responsibilities that do not always point in the same direction. As a father, many believe he naturally hopes relationships within his family can improve over time. As monarch, however, his first constitutional responsibility is preserving the long-term stability of the institution. Those two roles are not always easy to separate. Supporters of King Charles often point out that the monarchy has traditionally avoided making emotional decisions in response to short-term public pressure. Instead, difficult issues are generally approached with patience, careful planning, and a focus on protecting the institution rather than responding to daily headlines. That approach may explain why Buckingham Palace rarely comments on speculation involving private family matters. For many observers, silence has become a strategy in itself. Rather than responding to every new report, the palace generally allows official engagements and public duties to remain the primary focus. Some commentators interpret that silence as distance. Others see it as discipline. The difference often depends on perspective. Prince William has also become a central figure in these discussions. Although there has been no official confirmation that William has participated in any specific conversations regarding Meghan or Prince Harry, royal analysts frequently note that his influence within the institution naturally continues to grow as heir to the throne. Many believe William's long-term priorities are likely centered on protecting public confidence in the monarchy while ensuring stability for future generations. Those priorities, commentators argue, may sometimes differ from personal hopes for reconciliation. Again, those assessments reflect analysis rather than confirmed palace policy. Even so, they continue shaping much of today's royal discussion. Another important factor frequently mentioned by constitutional historians is precedent. The British monarchy has experienced periods of family disagreement before, but modern media has transformed how those disagreements unfold. What might once have remained entirely private now becomes global news within minutes, with millions of people forming opinions before official information is ever released. That unprecedented level of attention changes everything. Family relationships become matters of international discussion. Private disagreements become public narratives. Every reported meeting, invitation, or absence is interpreted as carrying symbolic meaning. It is perhaps inevitable, then, that speculation surrounding Meghan's future relationship with the royal family continues attracting such widespread interest. Some commentators believe gradual reconciliation remains possible, provided both sides continue communicating privately and avoid further public conflict. Others argue that while family relationships may eventually improve on a personal level, a return to any prominent role connected with the working monarchy appears increasingly unlikely. Importantly, that remains opinion rather than official policy. Buckingham Palace has not announced any permanent decision regarding Meghan's relationship with the royal family, nor has it confirmed reports suggesting that every avenue has been closed forever. For now, those claims remain unverified. Yet the ongoing discussion reveals something much larger than one reported request or one speculative headline. It highlights the continuing challenge facing the modern monarchy as it balances family relationships with constitutional responsibilities under an unprecedented level of global scrutiny. Whether meaningful reconciliation eventually occurs, or whether the current distance remains unchanged, one reality appears undeniable. Every future interaction between the Sussexes and the royal family will continue attracting extraordinary public attention, ensuring that even the smallest developments become part of a much larger conversation about trust, duty, and the future direction of the British monarchy. As weeks passed, the discussion surrounding reconciliation gradually evolved into something much larger than one family relationship. Increasingly, royal commentators began asking what this situation revealed about the future direction of the monarchy itself. For decades, the royal family has relied on one guiding principle above almost everything else: continuity. Regardless of personal disagreements, changing governments, or shifting public opinion, the institution has always attempted to project stability. That objective has become even more important during the reign of King Charles III, whose accession marked the beginning of a new era following the historic reign of Queen Elizabeth II. Many royal analysts believe that maintaining this sense of continuity now influences nearly every significant decision made by the palace. Whether discussing public appearances, charitable work, or family relationships, the monarchy is often viewed through the lens of long-term institutional stability rather than short-term public reaction. That perspective helps explain why speculation surrounding Meghan continues generating so much debate. Some commentators argue that the palace has gradually become more cautious about how future interactions with the Sussexes might be perceived. They believe officials are keenly aware that even relatively small gestures could quickly become global headlines, generating weeks of media analysis and competing interpretations. Others take a different view. They suggest that much of the reported tension has been amplified by public commentary itself, making reconciliation appear more difficult than it may actually be behind closed doors. Without official confirmation, neither interpretation can be treated as established fact. Nevertheless, both continue shaping public discussion. Attention has also increasingly turned toward Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. As the Prince and Princess of Wales continue expanding their public responsibilities, many commentators believe they have become central to the monarchy's long-term vision. Their work on mental health, environmental initiatives, early childhood development, and community engagement has steadily strengthened their public profile, leading many royal observers to describe them as representing continuity for the next generation. Because of that growing role, some analysts believe any future decisions involving the wider royal family will naturally be considered with William's future reign in mind. Again, there has been no official confirmation that William has taken any particular position regarding recent speculation. However, royal commentators frequently note that protecting the institution's long-term credibility is likely to remain one of his highest priorities. At the same time, King Charles continues balancing two identities that are not always easy to separate. He remains both a sovereign and a father. Several commentators have suggested that those responsibilities can sometimes create competing pressures, particularly when family relationships become subjects of worldwide public attention. Some believe Charles would always prefer reconciliation if circumstances allowed. Others argue that any reconciliation would ultimately depend upon rebuilding confidence over time rather than through symbolic public moments alone. Neither view has been confirmed by Buckingham Palace. Instead, they remain part of the wider conversation surrounding the royal family's future. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of this ongoing debate is how little verified information actually exists compared with the enormous volume of commentary surrounding it. Every reported meeting is analyzed. Every invitation is examined. Every absence becomes a headline. In many cases, speculation grows far beyond the limited facts available to the public. That reality has led experienced royal correspondents to repeatedly caution audiences against confusing online theories with confirmed reporting. Even so, curiosity remains extraordinarily high. People continue wondering whether future family occasions could eventually provide opportunities for private conversations away from media attention. Others believe the current arrangement may simply continue, with both sides focusing on separate lives while maintaining respectful distance. At present, there is no official indication that any dramatic breakthrough or permanent closing of every possible avenue has occurred. Instead, what remains is a complex relationship shaped by years of public events, personal experiences, and continuing media interest. Whatever happens in the years ahead, one thing appears certain. The story is no longer simply about Prince Harry and Meghan, or even King Charles alone. It has become a broader discussion about how the modern monarchy balances family, public responsibility, and institutional stability in an era where every development is instantly shared around the world. According to many royal observers, that balance may ultimately prove to be one of the defining challenges of King Charles's reign, and one that future generations of the royal family will continue navigating long after today's speculation has faded. As the conversation continues, one thing remains beyond dispute. The relationship between Prince Harry, Meghan, and the royal family continues to capture global attention in a way few modern family stories ever have. Every report, every appearance, and every rumor quickly becomes part of a much larger discussion about the future of the monarchy. Yet separating confirmed facts from public speculation has never been more important. At present, Buckingham Palace has not announced that Meghan has been permanently barred from the royal family, nor has it issued any statement declaring that reconciliation is impossible. Likewise, there has been no official confirmation that any supposed final plea was formally presented to King Charles or rejected through a palace decision. Instead, what exists is an ongoing debate driven largely by royal commentators, media analysis, and public interpretation. That distinction matters. Throughout history, the British monarchy has often chosen silence over public argument. Rather than responding to every rumor, senior members of the royal family have traditionally allowed official engagements and constitutional duties to remain the focus. While that approach sometimes fuels additional speculation, it also reflects a long-standing belief that not every private family matter should become a public discussion. Many royal observers believe that philosophy remains unchanged today. Others argue that silence inevitably leaves room for competing narratives, particularly in the age of social media, where theories can spread around the world within minutes. Whatever the explanation, interest in the Sussexes shows no sign of fading. Prince Harry and Meghan continue pursuing their own projects and public initiatives in the United States, while King Charles, Prince William, and Catherine remain focused on their constitutional responsibilities in Britain. Those separate paths have become increasingly well established, leading many commentators to suggest that both sides are now building very different futures. Whether those futures eventually overlap again remains impossible to predict. Some analysts remain optimistic. They believe that family relationships can evolve over time, and that private reconciliation may still be possible, even if it never becomes a public event. Others are far more cautious. They argue that years of public disagreements, media scrutiny, and differing expectations have fundamentally changed the relationship, making any significant public reunion increasingly difficult. Neither position has been confirmed by Buckingham Palace. Both remain informed opinions rather than established facts. Perhaps that is why this story continues attracting such extraordinary interest. It touches on subjects that resonate far beyond the royal family itself: loyalty, forgiveness, duty, trust, and the challenge of balancing personal relationships with public responsibility. For King Charles, those responsibilities include protecting the stability of the monarchy while navigating complex family dynamics. For Prince William, they involve preparing for the future while maintaining public confidence in the institution he will one day lead. For Prince Harry and Meghan, they involve continuing to build a life independent of the working monarchy while remaining permanently connected to one of the world's most recognizable families. Those realities ensure that speculation will likely continue. Every future meeting, public appearance, or a family gathering will almost certainly generate renewed discussion about whether relationships have improved, remained unchanged, or grown further apart. Until official information becomes available, however, much of that conversation will remain exactly what it is today, speculation rather than confirmation. In many ways, that may be the lasting lesson behind all these headlines. The biggest stories are often not the dramatic claims circulating online, but the unanswered questions that continue to fascinate audiences around the world. Can trust eventually be rebuilt? Will time soften years of public disagreement? Or has the royal family entered an entirely new chapter where respect replaces closeness, but reconciliation remains uncertain? Only those directly involved know the true answers. For now, the world continues watching, commentators continue debating, and every new development becomes another piece of a story that is still being written. Whatever the future holds, one thing is certain. The relationship between the Sussexes and the royal family will remain one of the defining royal narratives of this generation, not because of rumors alone, but because millions of people continue searching for signs of what the next chapter may ultimately bring.